The name alone echoes through time like the clash of bronze against shield. Achilles, immortalized in Homer's Iliad, the demigod warrior, invincible but for his heel. But what if the truth is more powerful than the myth? What if Achilles was real? We've found shattered weapons, crumbling tombs, and golden masks, not of gods, but of men, warriors, kings, killers. And from these broken remnants, a question emerges. Was there a true Mycenaean hero behind the legend of Achilles? Before the glory of Athens or the might of Sparta, there was Mycenae, a warrior culture of fortified palaces, brutal conquest, and royal blood. These were not men of ideals. They were lords of war. Bronze armor, towering shields, and chariots thundered across the Aegean, their kings buried with gold, swords, and the scars of a violent life. The Dendra panoply, a full suit of bronze armor, could have belonged to a warrior like Achilles. Boar-tusk helmets, referenced in Homer, were once dismissed as fantasy until real ones were found buried with Mycenaean nobles. And in the heart of Mycenae lies a tomb. Some call it the tomb of Agamemnon. Not Achilles, but perhaps his world. This was the age of heroes. Not gods, but men forged in fire and blood. Mycenae sprawled across the northeastern coast of the Peloponnese, a citadel of towering walls and imposing palaces. Here, kings commanded loyalty and obedience, and power was most evident in their graves. Mycenaean kings didn't merely rest in death, they basked in it. Tombs were lavish, sometimes taking the shape of beehive structures, all to contain the treasures of war and the trappings of power. Weapons, jewelry, even chariots accompanied them into the grave, reflecting a life of conquest and wealth. In the royal cemetery at Mycenae, archaeologists discovered a wealth of treasures, including the famous mask of Agamemnon, made of beaten gold. It depicts a stern-faced warrior, perhaps the legendary king himself. But these riches weren't just for kings. The dead were sent off with their favorite possessions, suggesting a Mycenaean afterlife that mirrored their earthly lives. Even chariots were sacrificed so the deceased could drive into the next world. Such was the world of Achilles. If he, too, was a Mycenaean. To understand his world, we must explore the Mycenaean way of life. These seafaring warriors dominated the Aegean from around 1600 to 1100 BCE. Their language, Mycenaean Greek, echoed with words like di for day and dendra for war. Their society buzzed with activity. Farmers grew bountiful crops, herders tended vast flocks, and artisans crafted exquisite goods from gold, silver, and ivory. But war was the heartbeat of Mycenaean culture. Chariots rumbled with the rhythm of raids and sieges, and when peace arrived, it was celebrated with feasts and poetry, immortalizing deeds of valor and stirring young warriors for more. Their world was a blend of the divine and the mortal. The Greeks believed their kings, often sired by Zeus or Apollo, were intermediaries between Earth and Olympus. So while the gods wove their fates, the Mycenaeans forged their own destinies. They traded with distant lands, fought fierce battles, and built grand palaces. Life was a tapestry of human agency, divine influence, and relentless action. It was in this melting pot of cultures and conflicts that the legend of Achilles took root. But let's get back to the Mask of Agamemnon. Unearthed in 1876, this gold mask once adorned the face of a Mycenaean king. Its stern visage and intricate design offered a glimpse into a world where kingship and divinity intertwined. While it may not have been Achilles, its discovery resonated with the enduring legacy of the legendary hero. Yet, like Achilles, many Mycenaean warriors met their end on the battlefield, leaving behind tales of valor and sacrifice. The Lion Gate at Mycenae stands as a silent testament to their martial spirit. Carved above the entrance, two majestic lions guard the way, symbolizing the fierce protectors who fell defending the city. Their courage echoed through the ages, inspiring awe and wonder in those who heard their stories. The legacy of the Mycenaeans lives on, whispering tales of a heroic past through the remnants of their grand citadels and the echoes of their timeless myths. While the truth behind Achilles may forever remain shrouded in the mists of antiquity, one thing is certain: the spirit of the hero, the warrior king, continues to captivate our imaginations. Achilles, the name alone echoes through time like the clash of bronze against shield, immortalized in Homer's Iliad. The demigod warrior, invincible but for his heel. But what if the truth is more powerful than the myth? What if Achilles was real? Archaeologists have unearthed shattered spears, crumbling citadels, and golden death masks, not of gods, but of men, warriors, kings, conquerors, and from these broken remnants a question emerges. Was there a true Bronze Age hero behind the legend of Achilles, long before the wisdom of Athens or the discipline of Sparta? There was Troy, a civilization of towering walls, epic battles, and royal intrigue. These were not men of philosophy. They were masters of war. Bronze-clad warriors, massive shields, and swift-footed chariots thundered across the plains of Anatolia. Their leaders entombed with treasures, weapons, and the scars of a life lived on the edge of glory and doom. The Linear B tablets, ancient records once thought indecipherable, speak of Wainax and Loaj, kings and military commanders who could have inspired tales of Achilles. Elaborate burial rituals, described in detail by Homer, were once dismissed as poetic license, until archaeologists uncovered evidence of funeral games and sacrifices honoring fallen heroes, and on the windswept coast of Turkey stands a mound. Some call it the tomb of Achilles himself. Not myth, but perhaps memory. This was the age when legends were born, not of gods, but of men who dared to reach for immortality through their deeds. The search for the historical Achilles takes us deep into the Bronze Age, a time of technological marvels and brutal warfare. Cities rose and fell, empires clashed, and heroes etched their names into the bedrock of history. But who was Achilles, really? Was he simply a figment of Homer's imagination? Or did a flesh-and-blood warrior inspire the tales that have captivated us for millennia? The Trojan War, long dismissed as pure fiction, had found new life in the eyes of archaeologists. Layer upon layer of destruction at the site of Troy speaks to a turbulent history, one punctuated by siege and fire. Could one of these layers hold the key to unlocking the truth behind Achilles? Recent excavations have revealed a city that matches Homer's description in surprising detail. The massive walls, the wide streets, the imposing gates, all echo the Troy of legend. But it's not just the city that's come to life. The weapons and armor described in the Iliad have been found in graves across the Aegean world. Bronze swords, ornate shields, and even boar tusk helmets, once thought to be poetic embellishments, have emerged from the earth. Tangible links to a world we thought lost to time. The Mycenaean civilization, with its palace complexes and warrior elite, provides a tantalizing glimpse into the world that may have shaped Achilles. These were men who lived and died by the sword, who saw war not as a necessary evil, but as a path to eternal glory. Their tombs tell a story of wealth and violence. Golden masks cover the faces of the dead, while bronze weapons lie ready at their sides. These were not the trappings of myth, but the hard evidence of a warrior culture that dominated the late Bronze Age. But what of Achilles himself? Can we trace the footsteps of a single man through the mists of time? While no inscription bears his name, no tomb can be definitively linked to the hero of the Iliad, the echoes of his story resonate through the archaeological record. The famous Achilles' heel, his one vulnerable spot, may have its roots in the very real weaknesses of Bronze Age armor. The joints and tendons were often left exposed, a fatal flaw that could bring down even the mightiest warrior. And what of his legendary speed? The chariots found buried with Mycenaean kings speak to a culture that prized swift movement in battle, a tactic that could well have inspired tales of a warrior who seemed to fly across the battlefield. The rage of Achilles, that driving force of the Iliad, finds its mirror in the violent lives led by Bronze Age warlords. Their world was one of constant conflict, where reputation and honor were worth more than gold. As we piece together the shards of history, a picture emerges not of a demigod, but of a man of flesh and blood, of triumph and tragedy, whose deeds were so extraordinary that they transcended death itself. The search for the real Achilles may never yield a definitive answer, but in that search, we uncover something perhaps even more valuable, a window into a world where heroes walked the earth, where the line between myth and reality blurred, and where the echoes of bronze on bronze still ring out across the centuries. This was the age of Achilles, not a god, but a man forged in the crucible of history, whose legend would outlive empires and inspire generations yet unborn.